Welcome into another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. We are your hosts, Logan and Luke Lazarchik. Pretty jam-packed episode today. We have NFL trade deadline occurred yesterday, closed at 3 p.m. We had some breaking news last night with some coaching firings and quarterbacks being benched and new quarterbacks coming to start. So it's a pretty packed episode today. And Luke, what were your general reactions to trade deadline yesterday?
I felt like it was pretty normal trade deadline where there wasn't a ton of, I feel the NFL trade deadline always it's never as cool as like the NBA trade deadline. Like that's when the fun stuff happens. I feel like the offseason NFL is just really jam-packed with trades. But yeah, there's some big stuff that happened. There's some pretty good players, but
There's no superstar players or anything like that were traded.
Yeah. So
and most of the marquee trades yesterday that happened were on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. There was not really offensive player, like a marquee offensive player that was moved. So that was kind of my main takeaway, is that it was mostly defense. And there was a lot of like solid players that were traded yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, pass rusher was sort of like the main thing, with obviously 3 of them in the past 2 days. And yeah, it's just offense doesn't really get traded much within, I feel like, the trade deadline. But everyone wanted like receivers, and like they're saying everyone's
and
like,
there was so much noise before the trade deadline
and there's just nothing.
A lot of receivers being moved.
The Broncos didn't trade anyone. I mean,
I think the Broncos winning on Sunday was if they lost that game, I believe they would have traded either Judy or Sutton, or both. But they won that game.
They traded no one, and there's like, the whole team's available. They traded.
They're saying it's 3-5 now, and I mean, I don't think playoffs are realistic, but for them, they may think that they can actually make a playoff push.
Or just gain some momentum for next year, because I think it is important for them to not suck. And if they're just
they want to build some confidence going to next year and kind of have a solid foundation.
Yeah.
But as I say, we will be talking about the NFL trade deadline, and that'll be our first topic today. And we will talk about the first. So there were trades not just yesterday, but during the week. So the first trade we will talk about is Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks gave the Giants a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick in return for Williams. And I kind of thought this trade was a win-win for both sides. What was your reaction to that trade, and how do you think this trade will kind of play out for both teams?
I mean, it looks like Seattle sort of improved up front because they also signed Frank Clark. We'll see how impactful that is, but they definitely put a focus up front now that aren't they technically in first place in the
No, they're in first place because they're 5-2, I believe, and San Francisco is 5-3.
Yeah, like I still don't think they're winning. I think their record's gonna lie. I think that the Ravens are gonna expose them a little bit, but they'll go on that later. But I think it was a good trade for them. Some defensive help. Defense has been bad, I would say, but hasn't been good either. It's been So it was a good trade for them. Need some interior help, and now maybe defensive line could be better with him and Clark, as I said. But for the Giants, I think it was pretty good because, I mean, you've seen the Giants have a good defensive line. I mean, Thibodeau's really showing out. So second,
there's like Dexter Lawrence as well. So I mean, Leonard Williams is 29, so I thought it was a pretty good move by the Giants.
No, yeah, 2nd round. I would have thought like a 3rd, but so 2nd and a 5th. I think that was a big win. I think they probably got the best value for trading away any player. I feel like, looking at it, I don't think anyone else got as good as value for a player.
Well, there is a trade that we're talking about later. I think got better value just because of where the team's at. That traded their pick.
I could see that argument. I could see that, but I do like the trade for the Giants a lot. They're obviously having a tough year. If they're sort of probably just going to next year, probably with Dable back and Daniel Jones back, and it'll be sort of the same team. You got to rebuild that offensive line more, but having more picks will definitely help. So it's a win-win, but I like more what the Giants did there. I thought that was really good for them.
I like what the Giants did too. They're clearly in a season where they're not going to be winning. I would have liked to see them try to move Saquon as well, just maximize as much value as you can get from this year's roster. But from Seattle's perspective, they're pretty much going all in for this year, this year and next year, the next couple of years. Defensively, the defense line's kind of been the main question mark on this defense. they don't really have a marquee pass rusher, and that's where I thought they were going to go. So Leonard Williams is more interior defensive line. I would like to see him go after, Brian Burns or Chase Young, which we talked about in our trade, prediction show that we had a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think both sides got what they wanted. And I think for Seattle, I think shoring up that defensive line, especially in the NFC where you're facing the 49ers who like to run the ball. And I believe 49ers still face Seattle twice. I think it's in the next couple of weeks they face each other.
Yeah,
in the next 4 weeks.
Yet.
So I think, it was a big addition for Seattle. And as we said with the Giants, I think getting as much draft capital as you can get when you're rebuilding is also a win. So I think, as I said, win-win for both teams. And I look forward to seeing how that trade plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Next trade we'll talk about, and I didn't really understand this trade from the Bears' perspective. It was reported this morning that Atlanta was willing to give up a third-round pick for Montez Sweat and give him an extension, but I don't really understand why the Bears gave up another second-round pick, which is going to be near the top of the second-round pick, 33, 34, 35, somewhere in that area. I don't really understand the trade for them. Yeah, they get a pass rusher that will help their defense, but at the same time, they're trying to lose this year. So why get a player that will help you win games when you're trying to lose games as well?
I completely agree. I think Ryan Poles is definitely – I think he's fired after this year. I just think they're in sort of a mess, and I just don't – well, first off, they don't trade Jalen Johnson, who they plan to resign him, but I saw Jalen Johnson was like, I thought I was going to get traded. It's just they're kind of – they don't make sense. They don't make sense.
I think Ryan Poles has too much capital spent. I think he's just going ultra aggressive just because he has the money and the draft capital.
Sweat. It's like he's good. I like Montez Sweat. It's like
and he's going to be a pending free agent, so you're going to have to pay him.
The amount of leverage he has with that, because the Claypool trade was obviously horrific. You lost a 33rd pick. Or it was 32nd because Miami lost the first. So it was
basically a first-round pick.
Yeah. It was Joey Porter Jr., who's a stud, who's been a stud so far. Mm-hmm. Really good pick for Steelers, improving that defense. But it's just, I don't get it. You're going to have to pay him. I don't even know how much you're going to pay him. Rashawn Gary got like 4 years, 96, and like 107, maybe total. I mean, it's like, they're
going to have to overpay him because they traded that high draft pick for him. They're going to overpay him.
If you're telling me you gave up a second-round pick and Rashawn Gary money for Montez Sweat, I'd just be like, what? It's like,
yeah, I don't really understand. And
Washington did. I really liked what Washington did.
Oh yeah, but from like Chicago, like last year, they don't sign Roquan Smith, and Roquan Smith, I believe, got paid $20 million per year.
Yeah,
and they paid Tremaine Edmonds $18 million a year. Why not give the $2 extra million per year for Roquan Smith, who is a much better linebacker?
I don't, and like, Edmonds isn't even like good. Like he's not even good.
I don't.
Roquan's a stud.
That's why I think Chicago, they have all this money and all these draft picks because of the trade to Carolina for the first pick. And I think Ryan Poles doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just throwing all these extra assets into proven players, but he's overpaying for every veteran player that he's basically buying.
You can argue the one good thing was the trading out of the first pick, but even that could have been wrong. I mean, because Bryce Young and Stroud, I mean, they've had some.
I know, but if you
got DJ Moore, but everything else like that. And you got a good pick, so I'd say that was like a good trade on the Bears. Even
I think Bears fleeced that trade. To be quite honest with you, I thought they won that because I think you skip on Bryce Young, but now you may have a chance at Caleb Williams.
No, I know,
Drake May, who I think are both better prospects than Bryce Young. So I was fine with that trade.
May go on a little winning thing. I think they may, but
Bears or Panthers.
Panthers.
Okay,
I think they may, but. But yeah, it was just like besides that, there's not been a single thing the Bears have done. But it's like, oh, that was good. It's like you got this Jalen Johnson mess. You got a little quarterback thing. I mean, did you see the thing? I didn't look into it, so I don't think it's some reliable thing. But it's like where they're thinking that the Bears fed NBC like negative stuff on Fields, and then Eberflus, he said that Fields may play, but Bagent is going to start. I think that's what he said. I believe it. I don't like Fields, but it's a disaster over there in Chicago. I think they're going to fire Poles, fire Eberflus, and you're just going to get a new coach, a new general manager with like 2 top 7 picks at worst. So it's like, but they wasted a second round pick on Montez Sweat. If you don't sign him, that's just like, oh my gosh. But maybe if a new, let's say hypothetically, like Poles gets fired, gets fired like day after the season. It's like maybe the new guy comes in. It's like, no, we're not signing him.
I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, with grabbing Montez Sweat, you could have signed him as a free agent and kept the second round pick. And who knows, maybe they trade with Atlanta and Atlanta gives an extension today. You don't even get a chance of Montez Sweat. But I'd rather keep the second round pick regardless.
Like Montez Sweat of all people.
Yeah, like I don't understand it. I thought it was such a stupid trade. And the Bears, they have the potential to build something really well because of their draft capital they have this year. I mean, you could hypothetically grab Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. And I guess you could spend more money on the defense side this offseason. But do I trust them to do that and build this team well? No. So
I mean, they had cap space last year. They didn't use it well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're just kind of throwing money at players. It gives me a European soccer feel where you have all this money to spend and you're just throwing it every which way without even trying to strategize a team with good chemistry. And I think that's kind of what the Bears are doing.
I mean, you could, if we just want to, we could like sit down and name like at least 15 to 20 pass rushers better than Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
I bet most teams have a better pass rusher than Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
He's not better than any of the other NFC North's top pass rushers. Sean Gary, Aiden Hutchinson, Danielle Hunter, all clearly better. So
yeah, and I think I would have understood if you gave up a third round pick. Like that's probably
that's
pick,
not terrible.
It's like pick 90 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
but 33 through 35, I think they will end up.
They're just not in a position to win, so it doesn't make sense. Like, why?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, you get a player that actually helps you win this year when you're trying to lose. It doesn't make sense all the way around. Next trade, and I thought this is a really good trade.
Sweat has not got 10 sacks. I mean, he's good, but these are nice stats, but he hasn't got 10 sacks yet in a season. So
yeah, so
he does 6.5 right now, so he should this year. So he's playing better this year, but still.
Yeah, wasn't a huge fan of the trade, but Washington I thought was big winners from the trade deadline. This next trade I was a huge fan of, Chase Young to the 49ers. Chase Young, ever since his rookie campaign where he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, has been pretty underwhelming. And there was a report yesterday that came out that coaches kind of thought that Chase Young was ad-libbing. He wasn't really, playing to the system. He kind of just went out there and tried to do his own thing. So, but I think when you're on the 49ers with this defensive line, with Nick Bosa on the other side, getting double teamed, I think Chase Young has a great opportunity to produce right away.
I've never been a big Chase Young guy. He is playing better this year. But I've still never been like that report about the ad-libbing doesn't surprise me at all. I've seen the talent, but I've never seen the player. But if you want to go anywhere to be a pass rusher outside of Philly, it's like this is the best spot. You're going to be opposite Nick Bosa. You got Hargrave in the middle. You got Fred Warner behind you. You just got to take
Eric Armstead. I mean, you have a lot of players that can take up attention. Chase Young should see a lot of single. He's not going to get double teams. He's going to see a lot of single.
Yeah, he's going to get 0 double teams. If you line up all 4 of those guys, he's the worst one. But I mean, Is this? I like it for Niners, but I don't love it. It's like, is he really going to be the guy? Because they're struggling a little bit on defense, and they've obviously lost 3 straight. Is he really the guy to put you back over? Maybe he is. I don't know if I see him as this entire game changer. Maybe he gets big plays because he gets to have against the weakest matchup. But, again, I think this is another win for Washington. I wouldn't have re-signed him. Washington, I love their owner just said, let's trade him. They also traded James Harden. Also won that. Josh Harris may be the best GM in sports, man. Really a stud. But not a fan of the Chase Young in general. It's okay for the Niners, but it's nothing where I'm like, oh, my gosh, the Niners now. Look at this whole new thing. It's just have another guy.
Yeah, I think the 49ers really wanted to grab a cornerback because their secondary is not that great. You have Travis Ward, who I think has become one of the most overrated corners in the league. But the best thing to help a struggling secondary is a pass rush. So from that perspective, just getting somebody on the defensive line shorten the clock for the quarterbacks, give the opposing quarterbacks less time to throw. I think also helps the secondary out. But I don't know. I like it because they're also giving up a lot of. They're getting beat on the ground and through the air. I believe the last 2 weeks against Burrow and Cousins, they've given up almost 700 yards of passing combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in those 2 games, I believe there's only 14 incompletions in those games. So I think the best formula for a struggling secondary is a pass rush. So I think strengthening that, and that'll also help you in the postseason where you can rotate players out, keep them fresh. And if I'm an opposing NFC team, Chase Young to the 49ers is probably the last place I want him to go outside of, Eagles. But I thought the Lions missed out on an opportunity to get a pass rusher.
Chase Young's not a guy who I'm worried about where he's going, though. It's Chase Young. I mean, he gets like
I know, but when you're going with a team like the 49ers who have that many pieces on the defensive line where he doesn't have to be
Here's the thing.
relied on every play. You could put him in situationally and just let him go.
They just traded away Montez Sweat. They also had Montez Sweat is better than Chase Young. They have Jonathan Allen. They have De'Aaron Payne. That's already a good D-line in Washington with the experienced head coach who controls part of the defense, Ron Rivera. So it's like, I don't see Chase Young having this big jump. I just don't. I don't.
I'm not saying he's going to become a superstar, but I think it's just a very good complementary piece to what they already have.
But it's nothing special.
Like, okay, when you rank him. Okay, so rank him on the defensive line.
He's
like
last
if you had,
in those 4.
Okay, but the fact that Chase Young's your last.
But he was last in Washington's, and they were still in Washington. I mean, San Fran's better in Washington, but it's not some big thing. I mean, Bosa's obviously way better. But De'Aaron Payne, Jonathan Allen, I mean, they compete with that San Fran 2 defense tackles. And it's just Chase Young. I don't think he's going to change too much. He may help in a moment, but he's not some guy where it's like, oh, now we can't block the Niners. I don't think that's how it's going to work. Washington's defense allowed plenty of stuff. They don't have nearly as much talent outside of the D-line as the Niners do, but still, I don't see it being a big change. I see it being fine, big boom potential. Are the Niners really going to pay Chase Young of all people?
No, I don't think they will, but I think that they'll get a comp pick when he leaves the free agency. They'll get a comp pick. So
I mean, isn't that delayed a year? So then,
I'm fine giving up a 3rd round pick.
Washington,
for Chase Young. I still like what Washington did overall yesterday. You got a 2nd and a 3rd round pick for 2 pass rushers that you weren't going to pay anyways.
A lot of teams got good value for trading away players. At least these top 3, I would all, if I had to pick a side, I'd pick the side with the pick.
Next trade we'll talk about the Vikings. Kirk Cousins goes down, and we had a lot of questions of what quarterback would they trade for.
That just sucked.
Yeah. There was a lot of rumors, of Jameis possibly going to the Vikings. Could they potentially sign a free agent instead of going the trade route? But they end up trading for Joshua Dobbs, who played for the Cardinals. And it was kind of written on the wall once the Cardinals benched Joshua Dobbs and named Clayton Tune or Kyler Murray the starter. So I know that you were talking about this before it even happened, and you kind of called it. I didn't really think about Joshua Dobbs. I thought they would either go get a Jameis Winston or sign somebody off the free agency market. But I like the move for the Vikings, and, I think it'll kind of keep their season afloat.
No, I think he's great. I mean, what he did going into Arizona, if you look at the stats, he's still, he's not great. He's Joshua Dobbs, but it's still impressive what he did. Just coming in right away. Won a game, competed in some games where they probably shouldn't be competing in. I mean, now, if Kyler doesn't – Arizona's weird. That's a weird situation with – they're up for Caleb, but if Kyler plays, he probably wins a couple more games than they want. So that's a little weird, but I think it's good for Vikings because they were – once Kirk Cousins got hurt, it's like, okay, they're out of my playoff picture. And, the 7th seed would be wide open. But then also the Rams, because I know I mentioned Rams, Vikings, Giants.
Rams aren't making it.
But now Rams probably won't make it because Stafford's gone. So that does open up Giants. But if they could have – they choked. Logan, if Giants would have won the game, they just make the field goal, they win the game, they'd be 3-5, a spot out. Just need to jump Tampa, New Orleans, and Minnesota.
I probably still give the edge to Tampa. As much as I do not like the Saints and the Buccaneers teams this year, I still think I would give them the edge over the Giants. I don't see Giants.
You can't say that. I still think the Giants have talent, and I like Daniel Jones more than Baker. So I think I would pick. I don't know now. I'd have to seriously look at it. But now
Minnesota's
where
schedule
if
coming
I had
up
to
is
pick a
pretty
17,
light.
I'm sticking with Minnesota. I'm sticking
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Minnesota.
I think Minnesota makes the playoffs. They have a really manageable schedule, but they have to win these games.
I mean,
And,
Falcons.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Vikings win this upcoming week. So
especially because Jaron Hall is
yeah,
expected to start. And I actually, first I was like, that's dumb. But then I was like, you know what? You barely gave up anything for Dobbs. If Hall's not it, he was like a 5th-round pick in 3 series. You could take him out, and then he just don't think about him again. But if he impresses, then you're like, okay, let's ride the young guy. So I'm all for that strategy. I actually don't mind it because you can bench him early. Dobbs can jump in. So I like what Minnesota did. They kept Daniil Hunter. I mean, he's been insane. So, I mean, Jefferson's going to come back. Addison's really coming to his own. Hawkinson's good. I do like.
I mean, you have Osborne's your 3, which I mean, he's not. I don't think he's a fantastic receiver, but as your 3, I think
He'd be the
pretty
Chiefs'
solid.
best receiver. Would he be? Yeah.
I still think I prefer Rice over Osborne, but
Rice
that's another
is
conversation.
if Rice in maybe 6 months and give me a
Yeah.
but I like it. I'm like, I was like, you gave up nothing for a starter quality quarterback.
From a Cardinals perspective, what do you go and just roll out Clay too? Because I don't think they start Kyler this week. I don't think you want to put Kyler's first game on the road in Cleveland. His first game
I bet
in
it's Clay
9 months
this week, and then I bet.
So I think Kyler returns next week against Atlanta. That's probably where I put.
That's a good game. Atlanta's good, but they're not bad. I mean, Atlanta's
it's a very manageable game. So I wouldn't rush Kyler back this week. But yeah, as you said, Arizona's kind of a tough spot of they want to get a top pick, but if Kyler plays, you're definitely going to win more than 3. I mean,
they made playing it safe though.
What'd you say?
I mean, I did say that, but maybe you don't win a ton because he's not going to go out and start scrambling.
Well, another thing is if he gets hurt, like if he plays and gets hurt, his money for next year, some of his money for next year gets guaranteed. So there's a risk of.
But that's just. I
don't know. I feel like I don't know. It's a tricky spot for Arizona.
If I'm Arizona, I'm not worrying about that. If he gets hurt and you're the first pick, you take Caleb. And you just figure the Kyler stuff out. You don't we don't play him. I don't think.
Is there any world?
I don't think you do.
And I want to go this route. But is there any world if Arizona gets a first pick where they trade the first pick and just try to compile a bunch of picks together and build a stronger roster around Kyler?
What if you could trade back to 3? Let's say it's Arizona. Oh, sucks.
What if Chicago? What if Chicago really wants
Arizona,
Caleb?
Chicago, Raiders, and Raiders are the 3rd pick, and they want Caleb. And Chicago's going to take Drake May.
I would probably do that trade.
And you get a ton, and then you just take Marvin.
And just take Marvin Harrison. You have Marvin Harrison,
Hollywood,
Marquise Brown.
Marvin, our boy.
How many more years is Marquise Brown under contract? Does he he's still on his rookie deal, I believe. I think he was drafted in 2018, 2019. So I still think he has a couple years left on that deal, but it would be interesting if it's like
track right now. That's a very good point. Oh, he's unrestricted free agent, but you could probably keep him if you have Caleb.
Yeah, but I feel like because I think Caleb's gonna be a good quarterback, but he's definitely shown some things. And maybe it's because USC's system is so it's just Caleb Williams and that's about it. Mm-hmm. But it's been kind of sporadic from Caleb Williams and USC.
I think that's what you expect. I think they're 20-year-olds, man. I think you're expecting too much out of these guys to be superstars in college when they don't have the talent of like Bryce Young and Stroud last year. Well, they're on Bama and they're on Ohio State.
They have better foundations around them.
They also have the best talent. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting.
It's just kind of interesting to talk about because I don't know if Arizona got a deal where you can't turn it down, like they had to move back. What if it was like Chicago has the picks 2 and 3, and you get picks 2 and 3 for 1, and then you get Drake May?
No way.
I don't know, man. Chicago has made some boneheaded trades.
May and Harrison, it'd have to be to May and Harrison.
I think Chicago. We've seen Chicago. They've traded a second round pick, basically a first round pick for Claypool, and they trade basically a first pick in the second round for Montez.
I mean, let's say it's a scenario. If I'm Arizona, I do say, and Arizona has Cleveland's pick.
They have Houston's pick.
Houston's pick, and that will be top 12.
I mean, you can.
There's no
and
way
you
you
grab
go
offense,
2-3. But if
and
you're
then
Arizona,
you can grab offensive linemen with Houston's pick,
and
and
Paris
your
Johnson's
offense
pretty
could
good,
be.
right? Yeah.
So
Pretty good pass rusher. I mean, you can work on the defense.
I mean, yeah, defense probably needs some help too, but yeah, I think for Arizona, I think they have a lot of avenues they could go if they get their one pick. But that's all speculation at this point.
Now,
So
it's fun to think about. Also,
yeah,
back to the Vikings on Dobbs. I think this kind of shows. I think Kirk Cousins is just a Minnesota Viking next year.
well, I don't know how long is the recovery going to be, because I think if they give him a contract, it's gonna be like a 2-year deal.
Yeah, 2-year deal, but I think he's a Minnesota
And
Viking.
I think it'll be a cheaper.
What are you gonna do? Draft
deal.
Michael Penix, who like his ceiling is probably current Kirk Cousins, his absolute ceiling. He's not
You
gonna
think
be
Mike
much.
Pence's current ceiling is just Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins is like a top 10 quarterback right now.
I know, but I don't know if
You
I don't
think
know if
Michael
I
Penix
don't know
is
what his ceiling is, but I don't know if there would be an answer to his ceiling already of what
yes, but
it
it's
is.
not. I'd be shocked if it's higher than what Kirk Cousins is. I'd rather just take Kirk Cousins now, and then next year you can roll out with Jefferson, who likes Kirk Cousins. That stuff was so stupid how he didn't like Kirk. That was dumb. But Jefferson, a more well-rounded Addison, Hawkinson, running back. I mean, and then you could draft some. And
Running back, they'll probably draft a running back in the mid rounds. They need to draft one.
You build stuff. Maybe you keep Danielle Hunter. I mean, maybe it's Harrison Smith's time to go. He's old, and you can be a good team next year. Kirk Cousins this year, I was so sad because he was playing so well. So well. It was honestly this year he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. So that sucks, but it's good they got Dobbs.
We had a few other trades, and we'll talk about these trades in one group. We had Rasul Douglas go to the Bills, which I thought was an underrated move. I thought, the Bills need some help on secondary. Ezra Cleveland goes to the Jaguars, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones lands with the Lions. Out of these three trades, which one do you think will be the most impactful?
I think Douglas easily. He's a pretty good corner. And they needed it. They're still a talented defense. I think they've just sort of struggled. I think
they've had injuries.
So this was a very good trade for them. They face Bengals this week, so having Douglas will be good. I think the Bills still are a pretty good team. They had a bye this week. Did they have the bye this week, or did they play Thursday? I'm trying to remember.
No, they played Thursday. They played against.
But they had a bigger break before this Bengals game. You get Douglas. I think that was clearly my favorite. I mean, Ezra Cleveland, he's a fine guard, so it's like Jacksonville adding a guard. It's a guard. I mean, maybe improve the offensive line.
I wish, or I think the line should have been more aggressive during this trade deadline. I really do.
Who could you have got? It doesn't.
Well, okay, if you
fight for Devontae and Mike Evans, and we're just basically
no. But I'm saying also, just in terms of adding, like I would have tried to add a pass rusher to some extent, and get another pass rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson, and then at receiver, I would have. Right now, the NFL is wide open of who can win the Super Bowl. And especially NFC, you can grab the 1 seed. I would have been much more aggressive in this trade deadline. What other
receiver is there to get? You want to trade like a 3rd-round pick or 2nd-round pick for a Judy or Sutton? It's like Donovan Peoples-Jones is probably 80% of that.
Because the thing is, like, outside of Amon-Ra, we don't really know what Jameson Williams is. You have Josh Reynolds, who's fine.
You have still good weapons. You have 2 good running backs. 2 good running backs. One who could play receiver-esque. A good tight end. And Reynolds is fine. I like Josh Reynolds. And then
the thing, maybe Jameson Williams will develop into something, but we haven't seen much of him.
But you still allow him to develop, and then you added another solid receiver. I like the trade. I like the trade a lot. I mean, they gave up like nothing, and they took a shot on Peoples-Jones, who's proven to be a solid player. I think
he's a good fit. I
don't think they need to do too much more. Teams don't do that. They don't go like all out. The only team you ever see go all out all the time
is the Rams
or the Eagles.
Well, Rams went out as well. They got Von Miller and OBJ in the same. Well, I think OBJ was a free agent when they got him.
Yeah, he was a free agent. I mean, I guess we didn't mention Eagles get by, or did we mention?
We mentioned that in the last episode that we did. So that was kind of another, notable trade. But I thought yesterday there's a lot of solid trades. I didn't think there was one that, stood out from the rest other than, teams getting more draft capital than they probably deserved, like the Montez Sweat one. But I thought these three trades right here were solid. I think Rasul Douglas is very underrated, and I think he'll be a good addition to the Bills' defense.
That's probably also why trades don't happen. I think these teams ask for a lot.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you have this upcoming draft coming up where it's supposed to be loaded, especially with quarterbacks. I think teams are less likely to trade, a first-round pick for a really good player. So I think this draft class has also played a big part in this trade deadline.
Yeah, I could see that.
So now, outside of trades, we had some breaking news last night that broke. The Raiders fired head coach Josh McDaniels and general manager David Ziegler. And then today, it was announced that they will bench Jimmy G for Aiden O'Connell. It didn't confuse me, or like the firing Josh McDaniels and Ziegler didn't. I wasn't like upset with it. I thought it was validated. Mm-hmm. But if you're gonna do this, why not just try to trade Devontae Adams and possibly Josh Jacobs? Why not just tear the whole thing down and try to tank for this year and tank for the draft?
I think you let whoever is new decide what happens with Devontae Adams next year. You rather keep the asset than force a trade at the last hour because they weren't going to trade him. So I'm fine with not trading Adams. You wait out for the offseason, and is someone really going to offer you a first or 2 firsts for Adams on a Tuesday afternoon in November or on Halloween? I mean, probably not. But then in the offseason, when you get teams laying out like full year plans, they're like, okay, let's go get Devontae. Okay, let's see. I don't know what's going to happen to Josh Jacobs because he's franchise. I bet he's just – I don't think anyone's trading time for Josh Jacobs. He's just gone.
And but that's my point is like if he's going to – because you're not going to have Josh Jacobs this offseason. You're not going to – I don't think they tag him again. You don't
see teams do fire sales, Logan. I don't know why you expect – you don't see them. You don't see teams do that much. So, I'm fine. I think it was good. Antonio Pierce is interim head coach. It is interesting how position coaches get those interims a lot. I think I mentioned that last night to you and people. Is it like just because coordinators are too hard to replace? And Raiders did fire their offensive coordinator. And it's like, or is there like a jealousy thing that happens? That's interesting. I'd love to get an answer on that. But I'm fine with Aiden O'Connell. I don't think he'll be much. Probably going to lose a lot of games. Giants is winnable, but, Giants getting Daniel Jones back. I think Jones and Saquon have only played 2 games together this year, right?
Jones and Saquon?
Yeah. I think just the first 2 games. I mean, the first game. No, was Saquon out? No, he wasn't out week 1. But that was just
Saquon played the first.
That was just a disaster. That was just a disaster that the Cowboys killed them. And so,
why are we talking about the Giants?
Because Raiders play the Giants.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get a Daniel Jones bid in here when we're talking about the Raiders news. So
Daniel Jones is back. That is news. I should mention.
Well, yeah, he is back. Yeah. So I looked into some stuff before we jumped on it. So Jimmy G is owed $11.25 million guaranteed, base salary guaranteed for next year, and another $11 million in roster bonuses if he's on the team or if he's on the roster by the fifth day in March. Mm-hmm. And then next year, if they cut Jimmy G this offseason, if you cut him with pre-June 1 designation, mm-hmm. you only save $200K while eating $28 million in dead cap. And then with a post-June 1, there's $15.5 million dead cap with $13 million in cap savings. So I think they're going to end up moving on from this offseason. I think they'll move on with a post-June 1 designation. But I could see the Raiders being very aggressive if they end up with, pick 8, 9.
What's even the point of doing a post-June 1 designation? You're going to suck next year.
I know, but you may want to save that money to
the next. I'd say.
So you rather eat $28 million dead cap?
Yes, because then you're just going to have to eat the other 13 in 2025 or whatever. So,
but I think in the draft, I think there's an opportunity. I think that if let's say the Raiders end up with for whatever reason it's this 8th pick, which that's where they're at right now, and I think they'll end up with the top 5. Could you see them, just be ultra aggressive and try to trade up into top 2, top 3 picks in the draft if they're that low in pecking order?
Didn't they try to get Stroud?
I believe so, yeah. Because in AFC, you have to get a quarterback.
Stroud. I mean, the second pick Texans, it was like, oh, the Texans don't want quarterback. Oh, they don't like Stroud. You know what happens? They took Stroud. Mm-hmm. So I think it's hard to trade up into top 2, especially when it's going to be Caleb Williams and Drake May. So they could try. I don't think they're going to. If my guess is whoever's top 2 is taking whatever 2. That would be my guess. So I don't think you can trade up and get them. I think they're just whoever.
I think there's a chance. If
there's
Chicago,
a chance.
No, okay. Can I explain? If Chicago ends up with the first 2 picks, I think they would take a quarterback with the first pick, and I think there is a world where they could trade that second pick. For a boatload.
That's still a lot to ask for Chicago to get the both picks. Panthers and Bears have to just be the 2 worst teams the rest of the year, and that's unlikely that's those 2 specific teams. So sure, that could happen, but the odds are that whoever has the first 2 picks, or it's going to be Caleb and Drake, and they won't be traded. So I feel like you can't really have that discussion until you see the first 2 picks. So that's not really on my mind. I think you just got to develop the players you have right now, see where you land. Maybe you probably aren't. Unless you lose every game, you have no chance with those 2 guys. You got to lose every game.
In terms of head coach, what route do you kind of see the Raiders going? Is it more stability, or do they try to hit a home run higher?
Stability. They need stability. I mean, they've got Gruden and McDaniels. Just get stability. Get a guy who, I mean, in my mind, Ben Johnson's the best candidate.
But I think that's a home run higher. I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in
it. I bet he's going to go somewhere with better structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where. I mean, I haven't really thought about it. Somewhere.
Could Bill Belichick be someone that they possibly bring in if he gets fired, or if he gets let go from Patriots?
They just signed him to extension, so I'm not even thinking Bill Belichick. And
I don't think. I mean, John Gruden. I know John Gruden doesn't have the pedigree or the resume of Bill Belichick, but he signed a 10-year contract and was fired 3 years in.
But, okay,
I don't think the extension is.
That's not the Patriots. This is Mark Davis. The Patriots have culture, and they have Bill Belichick and a system, and Robert Kraft. It's not Mark Davis. I'm not anticipating Bill Belichick's firing. I don't know who all the great head. I mean, who are the other ones? I mean, Ben Johnson's really the only guy that's ever. Why am I blanking? Panthers.
The
coordinator ever. I'm blanking on how to pronounce his last name.
Are you looking it up, or do you want me to?
No, I was gonna. I can. Wait.
I also think like a name like Raheem Morris. I think that could be another name that the Raiders could be potentially interested in. Just a guy who can, change the culture a little bit.
Evero.
Okay. But I think Raheem Morris, he's the Rams defensive coordinator. I could see him get some interest in the Raiders this offseason as well.
I mean, it'll be interesting. Like, I wonder if Brady's going to have any impact on stuff. I think
it'll be interesting. I think the Raiders need to get away. And I know I mentioned Bill Belichick, but at the same time, I think they kind of have to get away from, bringing in former Patriots front office people and coaches. So just kind of go a new route.
Yeah, like build fresh. Have something that you don't plan to like all of a sudden be 1 year and you're fighting for the AFC West. Build something new. I mean, my opinion, everyone should go after Ben Johnson. But
yeah, I think I think there's gonna be too many better teams interested in Ben Johnson.
Yeah, like if the Chargers have an open job, and I mean, I would be shocked if Ben Johnson isn't. If Staley gets fired, my guess would be like, oh, Ben Johnson's going to LA.
If Staley's still if he still has a Chargers job going to next year, I will be shocked.
If they pull it off. I mean, big Monday night game.
I don't think it's about this week.
I think he's fired.
Because I still think even if they make the playoffs, I expect them to flame out and probably disappoint.
I don't think they'll make it, but I'd expect him to get fired.
Yeah. Final story that we'll talk about: Luke's
my boy,
homie Desmond Ridder.
Hey, but but he's being replaced by another homie.
Sure. Taylor Heineke will start Week 9 for the Falcons. I'm not sure how concrete this will be, or if Taylor Heineke struggles, do they go back to Desmond Ridder? But at this point, I think they stick with Heineke unless he struggles, very badly.
It sounded like the plan is Heineke for this week, and I think they're just going to see how it goes. I think they're playing Minnesota without Kirk. They're like, okay, let's just use this. Both quarterbacks should win if Heineke looks good. I mean, I don't think Ritter was the problem. He does have a fumbling issue, which has been bad. So I can't defend that. But I still think he makes nice throws and stuff, nice reads, some nice tight window throws. But if you want to win the division, and personally for my bets, I'd like the Falcons to win the division. Probably the safest way to go is Heineke.
Yeah,
Player came in.
He was pretty solid last week.
Without London.
Yeah.
He's thrown to Hodge and
the Falcons are another weird team where Arthur Smith, I think, I don't think he's a good head coach at all. I think, and we've talked about this a lot during our podcast, but I think most of the problem lies with Arthur Smith. And I think Desmond Ridder is more of a career backup. I don't think he's that good at all. But I think when you have a coach who draws up simple plays and doesn't utilize the best playmakers on the field, I think your quarterback's going to struggle. So I'm interested to see if they change the way they call plays or if it's going to be the same thing of, Johnny Smith's
throwing passes.
Yeah,
Johnny Smith throwing a target to Michael Pruitt in the end zone.
Yeah, it makes absolutely it makes no sense of how they run their offense. I think Arthur Smith is, I don't know, man.
I mean, this schedule for the rest of the year, Minnesota without Kirk. If Kirk was playing, I'd take Minnesota. I mean, I don't want to spoil.
Especially how that defense is playing very well.
You're facing Arizona. It may be Kyler, but it'd be a unfresh Kyler.
Yeah.
Not running, and you're the better team. Then you have a bye. Then the big game. You get a bye, and then you host the Saints. You should win that game. You have the bye.
I think they should win that game.
You have home. Saints still suck. I don't care that they dropped a ton of points in the Colts.
Everybody does.
They also tried to trade for Renfro. Did you see that?
I did see that.
That's a weird one. Then the Jets. That's winnable. Are you more overall talented than the Jets?
Where is that game at?
It's in New York. I'd give the edge to the Jets right now.
If Zach Wilson plays like he did.
But if Heineke's – yeah. But so that game's up there. I'd give the edge to the Jets. You see. Then you face Tampa. You can beat Tampa. You already beat Tampa. Then you face Carolina. You're better than Carolina. You face the Colts. That's very winnable. You face Chicago. They suck. Then you end it with Saints.
I mean, they have an easy schedule coming into the year.
They're just going to – but, man, that's an easy schedule. If Heineke is going to make you win more of those games, I'm all for Heineke. At the same time, you could have fired Arthur Smith. And it could have been
I'm interested to see how – because I think the NFC South comes down to it's a 10-win race. I think whoever wins 10 games, even if it may be first to 9 games. Yeah, if you win 10 games, I think you're guaranteed to win that division.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see what happens if they win the division and they make the playoffs, if they retain Arthur Smith for next year. Or if I'm
going to win this season, just win this season. That's all.
Yeah, but it's like, as a football fan, watching Atlanta I'm not even a Falcons fan, and it's just frustrating to watch.
It's putrid. I mean, you have maybe the talented running back in football. And I'm even excusing the one game where he barely played because I was just weird and his headache and whatever. I'm excusing that. Most talented running back, I think London's in my opinion, he's a wide receiver. He's a low-end wide receiver 1 in his second year. I like London a lot.
I mean, they used 2 top 10 picks on London and
Pitts. I think Pitts
and Bijan was a top 10 pick as well. It makes no sense why they don't utilize him.
I think Pitts is a little disappointing, but he's still good. But he's not. I don't think he's ever going to be on the Kelsey or Kittle or even Laporte.
I think if you put him in the right system, I'm not saying he's going to be but he would definitely in the league.
He would be
top 8. He would be a top 8 tight end if he
was in
the right system.
He should be top 8 tight end. I agree. But so it's ridiculous. But if Heineke works, Heineke's a baller, man. I've been telling you ever since came in. He's a baller. He almost beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. He's a dog. That dude, no matter what you want to say, he's a dog. That one meme where it's a little rib cage and
we saw him play last year. He wasn't fantastic last year.
Okay, but he's a dog. He's a dog, Logan. And the Falcons don't need greatness. They just need fineness. They just need to be fine. And they should win the division because the NFC South is putrid. And Heineke's a dog. So even though it sucks to see my boy Ritter benched, I love Heineke. So I'm good with it.
We will now move into our Week 9 predictions. Another pretty boring Thursday night game tomorrow.
I don't know if you could say this is going to be boring. It may be weird, but I don't know about boring.
I think it'll be pretty uneventful. Titans at Steelers. Steelers are favored by 2.5, and the over/under is 36.5.
So this is one of those where Vegas favoring Steel. I think I saw enough from Levis. I still like Henry and Hopkins. Titans still, they do some good things. I mean, obviously, they need to make sure they block TJ Watt. TJ Watt is just like, if TJ Watt kills the game, it could just be over. But if you could just contain TJ Watt, you can let him get a sack or even two, but you cannot have him being a constant issue. You contain TJ Watt, I think you can figure this out. And my guess is TJ Watt has a good game, but he doesn't have a great game. I mean, Levis against Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't have a great pass rush. He's only sacked twice. But, that's his first game action. I don't have the sack, like the footage in my head, so I don't know what they were like. But I'm going to say that the Titans hold off TJ Watt enough. Levis makes some nice plays. Maybe he throws a pick, but give me Titans in just a weird, close. I mean, it's probably Mitch Trubisky, right?
No, they said Kenny Pickett said he's probably going to play. I don't know if he'll be 100%, but I think yeah.
Well, he's saying 100%, so I'm sticking with my pick.
I think
Hurt Pickett or Trubisky. I'm taking Titans.
I think if Trubisky plays, I think I lean Titans. But if Pickett's playing, I think I confidently pick Steelers. And when I say confidently, I'm not saying blowout, but Steelers at home, prime time. I think that's a tough place to play, especially for your second career start, first career road game.
No, it's nothing easy. I think a tough one.
Well, yeah, but playing at home against Atlanta or playing against Steelers defense at Pittsburgh, that's a tough road game. Whatever you want to say, it's a tough road game.
I agree.
I think Steelers, they've won with worse quarterback play before ugly wins with Big Ben during his career. I think Steelers pull this game out, and I think they barely cover. I think they win by 3 or 4 points in this one.
I think it's close. I agree it's close, but I mean, Titans have like a solid pass rush. Simmons is like the star, but he doesn't even lead them. It's Danico Autry who leads them, and Landry has 4. Simmons has 4.5. So the Steelers don't have a great offensive line, so I could see also the Titans defense giving them some push. Obviously, you don't want Deontay or George Pickens can break it, and you don't want that. But I'm riding with Titans and Will Levis. You throw 4 touchdowns in a game after the team's throwing like 2. Giving it Will Levis.
Next game, and we will be up for this one.
Yes, we will.
Miami and Chiefs in Germany, 8:30 on Sunday. Chiefs are favored by 1.5, and the over/under is 50.5.
I don't think I've been on here and picked against the Chiefs yet. I'm gonna take Miami. Okay. I don't like what I'm seeing from the receiving. I'm not. I was mentioning earlier, I'm not big on trades or not big. I don't think a lot of in-season trades happen, but it's like I saw a thing like Mooney. Maybe it's like, dude, just grab Mooney. It's like anyone. I cannot watch Sky Moore and MVS. My favorite receiver on this team should not be Justin Watson. And then with
you don't like Rashee Rice?
Okay, yes, I like him, but if I trust one guy right now, it's Justin Watson. Rashee Rice doesn't do anything against. Hey, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think it's broke up a little bit.
Okay, but as I was saying, Rashee Rice, I don't trust him yet. It's just play Tony as well. Just play him. I don't even care if he's good. Just play him. He's talented.
Tony, I think Tony's the most talented receiver.
He plays like a third of this.
I think part of that is he gets hurt when he plays extended snaps.
We need a win.
But at this point, because the Chiefs right now are playing a 6 to 7 man receiver rotation, I say to shorten it to 3 or 4 and consistently play Tony, Rice, and MVS. Just play those 3 and then you put Kelsey as well.
I think you got to play 5. You just got to give the top guys more. You got to play Justin Watson.
I don't think MVS is even that good.
That dude.
Yeah, I don't think MVS is even that good, but he's getting paid $11 million. So
Sky Moore is just that was a bad pick.
Yeah,
besides all that, the Dolphins, I think they've been good. A couple times they disappointed. Patriots played them a little. I think that game was a little closer than the score because, you had a big pick in the red zone and stuff. But I think it's an ugly game, and I'm gonna take Miami.
I think if it's a high-scoring game, I don't think the Chiefs win because I don't think they can keep up. But I think the Chiefs' defense, especially defensive line, I think they keep them in this game. Miami's offensive line is already not that great, and it got even more banged up last week. So I think if you can get Miami behind the sticks, put some pressure on Tua, especially get pressure in his face, bat some balls down, which the Chiefs do lead the league in batted passes.
They
So
are
I think
good.
that'll also So I think Tua is a shorter quarterback. I do think Chiefs win this game. I want to say it's like in the 24-21 area region. I think
Holding that's a lot to ask for.
I think the Chiefs have formula. They have a bye week next week, and you kind of see Chiefs when they lose a game, they kind of bounce back, and especially before the bye, I think you're going to see a much focused team, and I think Chiefs they bounce back somewhat offensively.
I think the key is running the ball because I saw Willie Gay is hurt. I assume he'll play, but he didn't practice, and then Nick Bolton's out. And then Pacheco needs to be given the ball, man. You got to give that.
There's some stat where if Pacheco gets I believe it's 15 plus carries, the Chiefs
could also just be we hand him the ball at the end of the game.
And I want to see the Chiefs run out of single back formation. I hate when Chiefs run out of shotgun, which is what they did all
frustrating. I think every Chiefs fan who actually knows football is like, what are we doing with that? So I think that it's run game dictated, and the Dolphins have a more Dolphins have a more consistent run game, and they're more willing to go to it. And dude, Tyreek, man, he's on a roll, and now he gets to face the Chiefs. He may be in his zone. So I think too much has to go right for the Chiefs. So I'm taking Dolphins.
Okay. Next game, we've talked about this game a lot during the other storylines. Vikings at Falcons. Falcons are minus 4.5.
I think we sort of discussed it, so we don't need to go too much into it. We've already discussed a lot because we discussed both teams. But I'm taking Falcons. I'm taking Heineke over Hall, and even if Dobbs comes in, it's still rosters are close. No Justin Jefferson. I'm gonna take Falcons.
I'll take Falcons as well. Falcons at home are actually very good defensively at home, so I think Falcons win this one on the defense side of the ball. Next game, Cardinals at Browns. Browns minus 8.5 with an over/under of 37.5.
So we don't know if Tune's going to play or Kyler's going to play. I guess it's Tune, but we don't know. And then Deshaun practiced today, and PJ Walker's fine, but I think even if you watch, you're like, okay, they much rather have Deshaun, even with much rather have Deshaun. So I think this could be a breakout Browns game. Maybe I'm sort of thinking. I think this may be Browns have if you put an alt of 20 points, Browns could cover it. Big Browns game, in my opinion, so I'm taking Browns.
I'm not going to see a Browns breakout game offensively, but I do think they dominate this game from the defense side of the ball. The Browns played the Colts, and when Deshaun Watson started, he struggled, and he should have had an interception. I know the Browns end up dropping 39 points in that game, but at this point, I'm kind of done with Deshaun Watson. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback anymore. Staying out 2.5 years. I think this game's just going to be decided by the run game, and defensively they'll dominate. Yeah. Next game, Rams at Packers. This is a game I'm torn on. The Packers are favored by 3.
If it's Brett Rypien, I'm taking Packers. Packers have been playing bad, but as you see in the NFL, just because you play bad doesn't mean you can't have good games here or there. And the Rams defense has been fine, but it's not great. Aaron Jones maybe gets more involved in this one. They only traded Rasul Douglas. You still have Jair. I mean, the Rams have game breakers, but I don't know how much Rypien's going to get it to them. So, taking the better roster, the better quarterback in Jordan Love. He's better than Rypien. He is.
No, he is. It's just
he'll make some plays. Yeah. He's better. And so, yeah, I'm taking Packers and a bounce back. It's nothing like, oh, the Packers are great. It's just they should beat the Rams without staff.
I think Packers by far have a better roster. And I saw yesterday Puka had some knee swelling, so
yeah,
that'll be something to watch this week. But I think Packers, I think they just all around their roster, better defensive line, better offensive line. I think Packers control this game, but I don't think they have the talent at quarterback to pull away in this game and blow out the Rams. I still think it's a closer game. Mm-hmm. Washington at New England. New England's favored by 3.5.
I mean, Washington got rid of their two edge rushers, good edge rushers. Sweat's pretty good. Young is all right. Howell is weird. I don't get Howell. I don't know if he's good or not.
I think he only plays well in like divisional games.
Against Philly,
Yes.
he's like insane. I want to see because didn't he play Philly last year? And played well or something? I may be wrong on that. He played. He played the last week of the year and was good, but that wasn't against Philly, to my knowledge. But he plays really well against Philly. The Patriots didn't trade anyone. They kept their roster. Their offense is looking better. They did lose Bourne for the year, and he's been like their best receiver. And I don't think Devontae Parker's going to play, so it's going to be like Demario Douglas and Juju and what's his name, who I thought could be solid. Tyquan Thornton, maybe. I don't know. But I think they win. Washington got rid of some solid players. Patriots, they competed well against the Dolphins. It should have been closer than what it ended up being. And Washington has a terrible secondary, so Matt can make some nice throws to like Gesicki and Hunter. So yeah, I'm gonna take Patriots and not a great game.
Yeah, I'll probably just take Patriots just because of coaching and they're at home. That's probably the two reasons I picked Patriots. Other than that, I will not be watching this game, and I have no interest in this game. So, but yeah, I think Patriots just because of Ron Rivera. I don't think he's a great head coach, and Eric Bieniemy does not run the ball, and Sam Howell's getting killed back there. I think he's on pace to get sacked 90-something times this year, which would break the record by like 20 or so sacks. So I don't really trust Washington, and I think New England at home, I think they dominate this game for the defensive side of the ball. Next game, Bears at Saints. Saints are favored by 7.5.
Okay, you know how much I say the Saints suck. The Bears didn't trade anyone, and they got a nice pass rusher. I don't care who starts this game. 7.5 is a lot.
Well, 7.5 is a lot, yeah.
I'm taking the Bears. I think that Justin Fields is wonky enough where he plays, he can do something. And
I don't think Fields is playing.
I said if, but he hasn't been ruled out. He hasn't been ruled out. And Badgett has shown enough to where he's not bad. He hasn't got DJ Moore too involved yet. I'm going with the upset here, even though they suck. I think the Saints suck too. And I'm trying not to be personally biased because I need the Falcons. But I'm going Chicago. Maybe Sweat has a nice game. Still have Jalen Johnson. I still don't trust Carr. I'm going Bears in just like a weird, funky game.
We have bashed Bears for the first 10 minutes of this show, and now you're picking to beat the Saints at New Orleans.
You act like every game the better team.
But did you see Tyler Badgett? It was a one-hit wonder. Did you see him against the Chargers? And we say Chargers are not a good defense.
I know he was terrible, not great. Though. He wasn't terrible.
I think Saints are just going to run the ball over and over again, and I think the Bears defense will not be able to. I think Taysom Hill, even when the Saints are going to run Taysom Hill, he gets yards, and I think Chicago's not going to be able to stop that. And I think we could see the receiving game for the Saints break out slightly in this game. So I think Saints. The 7.5 scares me if I'm betting spreads, but I do think Saints win this one. Next game, Seattle at Baltimore. Baltimore's favored by 5.5.
I said it earlier. I think Seattle's a little fraudulent, even with Leonard Williams. I think the Ravens are studs. I think that pass game's been going all right for the Ravens. I mean, it hits or misses here or there. Gus Edwards had a nice game last week. I'm continuing to go with the Ravens. I have not seen much to impress me from Seattle offensively. I haven't seen a lot. You scored 13 against the Bengals, and the Bengals weren't even back yet. Scored 20 against the Cardinals. Couldn't really move the ball. Scored 24 against Cleveland, where they should have lost. They got so lucky. Cleveland screwed up the end. You only scored 24 against the Giants with a pick six. Okay, you went nuts against the Panthers and Lions, and then you got destroyed week. I don't see impressive offense. I see a lot of talent, not impressive offense. I say Baltimore has a nice win here. 5.5 is a lot, but if I had to guess, I want to bet on it. I'd say they cover.
Part of me wants to say Seattle in this game, but I still think Ravens win. If this game is in Seattle, it would be really tough to pick this game. But I think, like you said, Geno Smith, I think, has not been that great this year. He has not been efficient at all. And they have a lot of good weapons. I mean, you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, but their offense has not been clicking. I think Kenneth Walker, I think he's dealing with an injury. But I may be wrong on that. But I thought I saw earlier in the week where he picked up an injury in the last game. So maybe Chardonnay may be leaned on more. But I think Baltimore right now, defensively, they're playing too well. Offensively, they're playing too well. And I'm going to take that momentum over what Seattle is producing over the last few weeks. So I'll take Baltimore. I don't know if they cover. I think it could be like a 4-5 point game. So they may slightly not cover. But I think Ravens win this one. Mm-hmm. Next game, Buccaneers at Texans. And the Texans are favored by 2.5.
This is an interesting one. Texans have sort of not played too well lately, in my opinion. Lost to Panthers. Tampa's also not playing too well, but they competed at the end with the Bills. This is a game I was looking at all the games and I sort of skipped it. I'll get back to that. My gut's gonna tell me Texans if they have a little bounce back here. Stroud has a bounce back. This is probably honestly it's at least like top 2 toughest games for me to pick this week. And just who's going to win. So I'm going Texans. I don't feel too confident about it, though. I could see this being like weirdly 30-27, or I could see it being 20-17. I could see it going both ways. So Texans, don't feel great about the pick, but I wouldn't feel great about the Tampa pick either. So Texans.
Yeah, I like Texans in this one. One, I trust Stroud more than Baker Mayfield. And 2, the Texans defense, their weakness is against the run, but the Buccaneers are the worst running team in the league. So I don't know if they'll be able to expose that.
Yeah.
So, and I also like DeMeco Ryans and the coaching staff of Texans. I trust them more than Todd Bowles and his coaching staff. So I think Texans win this one. But as you said, I think it may be a sloppy game, kind of ugly game. So I think it'll tend to be a low scoring game. And I don't know if it even hits 40 points. Like you said, I think it may be 20-17, 17-14.
Also see it though, like just Stroud and Baker start dealing.
Well, yeah, I could easily see that.
It could just be a weird one. I do think Baker's been solid, so I wouldn't say I trust Stroud.
But if Buccaneers
Stroud more right now than Baker, I think is a little dumb. Not gonna lie, Stroud had like 2 good games. He's not more trustworthy than Baker right now. I think that's dumb. No offense.
He has one pick on the year.
Okay, 1 pick because he's just probably not. That's overrated as hell. Zach Wilson has 1 pick in the last 5 games, but you're not going to say you trust Zach Wilson, are you?
No, but I legitimately still trust Stroud over Baker.
He's not taking those shots. I'm going to take Baker, who's won games. Baker's currently better than Stroud. He had 2 good games, and I like Stroud, but he's not currently better than Baker. It's dumb.
Okay.
You don't like Baker. You just don't like Baker's personality. But There's been much more.
I'm going to move on. I'm not going to get a full argument about this. We're going to move on.
It's just not a good opinion, Logan.
Colts at Panthers. Colts are favored by 3.
Colts are favored by 3.
Yes.
And I don't think they cover because I think the other quarterback, and he's probably not currently better than Minshew, because that's not how it works, Logan. Rookie quarterbacks. I think he's better than Baker. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna take the Panthers. They finally got a win off their back. I think that was big for them. They're facing a Colts defense, which has just been massacred lately. The Colts have been getting kind of lucky with the big play. Has there been an injury report on Jonathan Taylor? He had like an insane first half and then just like barely played. I don't think
they're using him and Zach Moss it's very odd how they're basically giving him a 50-50 split.
No, yeah, but workload. Jonathan Taylor had like 90 yards in the first half and got like 1 more yard.
He has no injury designation. Okay, I see no injury designation.
Everyone was saying they thought he was hurt, but nevertheless,
I think they just went away from him.
I don't think you go away from someone who has 91 yards. I think he probably had an in-game something. But I think Bryce Young, they should pick it up. It should probably be, I think if their defense shows out a little bit, 44 is the over-under. I'd personally hit the over.
I think every Colts game except one has hit the over because they play so fast-paced, and Shane Steichen has this offense.
They've also got some so many touchdown plays. So, but I'm gonna take the Panthers. Bryce Young. I think the Panthers are I don't think they're going to go nuts or anything. But I feel like you see this a lot of times every year. The team is 0-6, and then they're 3-7 or 3-8, and everyone's like, whoa, but it's football. teams hit their stride at different times. So take the Panthers.
I'm gonna take Colts. I'm not confident in the pick, and I don't even know if they even cover. They may push. It may be, a 3-point game. So, but I do think Colts offensively. I think they'll have their way with the Panthers defense. So I trust the Colts in this one to win. Next game, Giants at Raiders. This is probably actually one of my favorite bets of the week, just value wise. The Raiders are favored by 1.5.
That makes me scared. Because I know you're going to say Giants, or I assume you would. It's like I thought Giants were going to win even before all this happened. I bet them Sunday night in a parlay because I was like Daniel Jones could be back, but I'm not going away from it. I'm taking the Giants. I love Daniel Jones. He's with Saquon. Hopefully Andrew Thomas is there. That'd be nice. And the Raiders just fired. I know teams like fire everyone, then they win their next game. But Aiden O'Connell's played like 2 games. He's had a good one. They had a pretty bad one. I'm taking the Giants, and I think they win comfortably. But, the stupid Vegas line where it doesn't make sense, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I'll take Giants as well. What's weird is if Jimmy G was playing, I would have I already have confidence in Giants, but I think I would have even more confidence if Jimmy G was playing. And I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell is. I think they're both in the same. I like Aiden O'Connell. I don't think is good either, but I think I would have more confidence. I think Aiden O'Connell can actually get Devontae the ball when he's open, which Jimmy G can't. So I would have more confidence in the Giants, but I do think Giants win this game. I think Kayvon Thibodeau has a big game, or he has 8.5 sacks this year. And I think Daniel Jones, even though as much as I don't like him, he's definitely an upgrade over Tyrod and Tommy DeVito. So I think his return will be big. I think Giants. I think they could easily win this one by 7 to 10 points. I think it could be a comfortable win for them.
Yeah, I agree. Just stupid Vegas scares me.
Next game, Cowboys at Eagles. Eagles are favored by 3.
My one concern with so the Eagles, they got Byard. Hurts, I think, has been playing better than people think. I think just because his stats aren't with the rushing, I still really like throws he's made. He is hurt. The knee's clearly hurt, but I don't care. AJ Brown's been a stud. Cowboys did not add in the secondary. Cowboys have these big wins, and then they have crappy losses. It's a pattern. It's just
especially when they beat up on the teams they should beat. Like they destroy the teams they should beat.
It's tradition for them to destroy a team and then have a bad loss. So I'm sticking with the Eagles. They're 7-1. I'm not gonna division game. Eagles are gonna go all out, as will Cowboys. It's in Philly. I'm riding with the Eagles.
Yeah, I think Eagles win this one. I think Cowboys are the classic team where they beat down on the really bad teams or, underwhelming teams like the Rams are. And then when they play actually good competition, they get beat pretty handily. We've seen that this year with 49ers. They got beat. I think Eagles have a chance to dominate this game on both offensive line and defensive lines. The one concern I have in this game is just Eagles secondary. But I think Kevin Byard in his second game should pick up some steam. First game he was kind of still learning the system and all that, so I give him a pass on that. But I like the Eagles in this one, especially at home, and I think they could easily win this one. Like I said the last game, I think they can win this one by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I agree.
Next game, finally a good Sunday night game on paper. I know we had Eagles Miami a couple weeks ago, but last week it was what was last week's Sunday night game? Oh, it was Chargers Bears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another favorite bet of mine this week. Bengals -2, and the over under is 49.5.
I was thinking about picking Bills in sort of a bounce back, but Josh Allen not practiced today. He's having a shoulder.
Yeah, I think he has an AC joint injury. I know they're not. That's speculating, but I mean he landed on his shoulder pretty hard against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to diagnose it, but I don't like that. And for that, I was pretty 50-50, honestly. I know everyone saw the Bengals beat the Niners, and everyone knows how the Bengals beat the Bills. So everyone's picking Bengals, which makes sense. But I was honestly 50-50, but I'm going to go with Bengals Josh Allen's hurt. Obviously, the Bengals have had their number recently last year. Obviously, there's a whole DeMar Hamlin game, so that's thrown out the window. But then the playoffs, the Bengals whooped them. It may be an emotional game. But yeah, I'm going Bengals. They're playing really well. They win this game. I mean, they're going to be 5-3 if they win this game. It's like, okay, they're near the top, and Joe Burrow looks like he's back, and that's probably the main thing. Joe Burrow looks like Joe Burrow. Great MVP odds, by the way. But, yeah, going Cincy.
I just have a feeling I think Bengals win, and I have a feeling – now I don't think it will be a blowout, but I do think that they can jump out to a 10-0, 14-0 lead right away in this game. I really like Bengals at home, and Bills over the last few weeks have started out really slow. And I know against Buccaneers they kind of started fast, but I think the Bengals have an opportunity to start this game out really fast and jump out to a 10, 14-point lead early in the first quarter. But I do like the Bengals at home in this one.
Bills need to run the ball.
We'll see if they do.
They won't.
We always say that. Last game of the week, Monday night, Chargers at Jets, and the Chargers are favored by 3 with an over-under of 40, which I found kind of interesting. 40 points in this one.
This is such an interesting game. Kind of intrigued by it. I think the over-under is pretty good. I think the line's good. I think it's going to be like a 21-17 type of deal. So I'm going to stick with Chargers. But if Zach can put up a good game, I think the Jets can take it.
If I may ask, what is a good game for Zach Wilson?
I mean,
if you said like
the Chiefs
just put numbers out there.
Rolling dots. I mean, I don't like to go just numbers because I don't think that tells everything. When you have a crappy line and you're still learning stuff. But if he plays like he did like against Denver outside of the pick, which was he threw up like a 50-50 ball, could have put it slightly more right, and they could win it. He can't play like the Giants was probably his worst game of the year outside of Dallas. Dallas was really killing New York in general, both Giants and Jets early on. But he can't play like he did against the Giants. But if he plays like he did against like Philly, Denver, or KC, then it's like I'm true 50-50. But I'm going to stick with Chargers. I'm sticking with Herbert. I think Herbert gets it done. But I'm very – this is probably my second hardest game outside of – his number one is, as I said, Texans-Bucks. But this is number 2.
I like Chargers in this game. It's another game where, Chargers' weakness on defense is especially – well, they're pretty bad on defense, but especially against the run. And the Jets have not been able to run the ball with consistent success. So I think Chargers win this game, and I think Jets' offensive line, it's really bad. And I think Khalil Mack, you may see a good Khalil Mack game, which we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. We haven't seen him dominate games like he did early in the year, but I do think this will be a Khalil Mack game. And I trust Justin Herbert way more than I do with Zach Wilson, which I think is the biggest factor in this game. So I think Chargers win. I think this could get ugly if the Chargers find a way to dissect this Jets defense, because I don't trust Zach Wilson keeping up.
No, yeah. Zach Wilson's been fine this year. I think he's sort of doing most of his job. I mean, he was terrible against the Giants, but at the end, once they had some luck, he made a couple nice plays that needed to be made. I think he needs to let himself – he's only thrown one pick, and it was a 50-50 ball. I think he's sort of want to see him throw a pick, and just he needs to sort of –
I don't know. I think what happens, though, with him – because I still don't think he's a confident player. No, yeah. I think if he throws one. I think if he throws one pick, it could be a snowball effect. And
but you want to make the playoffs. Just take the risk. I think if you're in the offense coordinator room, you're like, okay, we're facing a team, the Chargers, who aren't great, but if Justin Herbert gets it rolling, we're gonna need you to compete a little bit. Got to go to Garrett Wilson. So I think he needs to let it out a little bit. He's still very talented. I think he needs to let it out. We'll see how the Chargers pass rush, because, I mean, Mack had like 5 or 6 sacks in that one game, and he only has 7. So I still don't think he's much. And Joey Bosa does not seem to get many sacks. So if the Jets' offensive line can hold steady, we'll see. We'll see. I'm interested. I am interested.
Yeah, I think it's another interesting week of football. I don't know. I think
it's a good week. A lot of good games.
I think it'll be better than last. Last week was kind of just sloppy football, and I don't think it was that great. yeah, last week was not a fantastic week of football, in my opinion. I thought there was a lot of games where it's either blowouts or sloppy play. But I think we do have an interesting week this week, especially, we're Chiefs fans and Chiefs play Sunday morning, so we'll have to be up bright and early for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But that will do it for our episode today. We'll be back next week, probably week 9 reactions, and there'll probably be more storylines we'll talk about as well for week 9.
Yep.
But until then, make sure to like the video and subscribe.